Hi everybody, my name is Gracie and I am one of the project leaders for Days for Girls. So today in this video I am going to show you guys how to trace and cut out the patterns for Days for Girls, and then how to sew a pad. Last year I sewed about 100 or so pads and then about 50 or so holders, and this is the way I found it to be the most successful. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to print out both the patterns for the pad and for the liner. Now I chose to print them out on a cardstock because they are a little bit thicker, which will help a little bit when you are tracing them out on the fabric. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to start with the pad. And now this pad is going to get modified a little bit, so you're not going to have these side wings. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. All right, so I cut it out, so it looks like this. You just want this part of it because I found when I was sewing that it's actually comparable to the size of a menstrual pad. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you a clean one really quick. So like this, when you hold this up to it, it's about the same size, a little bit smaller, which is good because this is what we want. We don't want something super thick and bulky because obviously it's not comfortable to wear something super thick and bulky. So we want to make it comfortable for those girls who are going to wear it. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to cut out this. Now, as you can see, mine cut off on the top a little bit. That is perfectly okay. But the reason we cut off the wings on this is because this actually comes with pockets. So I would recommend possibly cutting out 2 of these so you can cut out the pockets on one, and then you have the outline for one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out really quick and show you what I mean. All right, so I now have this cut out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut all these shapes out first, and then I'm going to cut out these little pockets here. So this is what you're going to use the cotton fabric for, and this is what you're going to use the polar fleece for. Now, I saw that there was an Amazon list where you could get specific fabrics. However, if you do have a Joann Fabrics nearby or someplace that you can buy fabric for cheaper, you're more than welcome to do that as well. They aren't required to all be the same fabric or the same pattern or anything like that. We just want to make sure that we can make these. So first we're going to actually cut out this stuff. So what I got this fun daisy fabric, right? Because I mean, ideally, it'd be nice to make them something that's fun. We all know having your period probably isn't the most fun thing in the world. So this is just a cotton fabric. One thing that I always do when I go fabric shopping is I feel the fabric. And I feel kind of how soft it is, if the print on it is super thick, if there's a lot of ink on the fabric. Because if it's nice and soft, it typically works better for the pads, just because I like to think like you're not going to want to wear something that's super uncomfortable, so why should other people? So I like to find a super soft fabric. However, there are different varieties that I got. So you can get, this is more of a quilter's cotton. It's a little bit thicker. You can use this as well. It is completely up to you. All right, so as you guys can see here, I have my fabric laid out, my pattern laid out on top, and then I have this Crayola washable marker. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to take your fabric and line it up as close to the edge as possible, just so that you can get the most amount of designs out of the fabric. So then you're just going to go ahead and you're going to trace around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just make it pretty close. Stellar cutter. So I am going to go ahead and take my pocket right here for the first one and trace it. So it's still pretty close. I'm still trying to save fabric. I strongly recommend that after you get your fabric delivered or from the store that you wash it and dry it, and then you take your cottons and you iron them so that they actually lay flat while you're doing the tracing and cutting and sewing. All right, so I have got the Polar Fleece here, and I've got my pad liner. So what you're going to do is for every pad you make, for every one pad, you're going to need to cut out two. All right, so I have my terry cloth here. Now this is going to go on the inside of the pad. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pad liner and you're going to trace along the outside of it. So you're just going to trace like you did for all the other ones. This is going to go in the middle, like I said. And one thing I found to be helpful is it's perfectly okay if it's actually a little bit smaller than the pad itself. That way you don't have to worry about the terry cloth sticking out. I'm going to sew your pad. Now this one is already finished. The first thing you're going to want to sew is this middle strip right down the center. Every pad should have one of these. That takes up about almost the whole thing. This is going to help keep all your other fabrics in line, so I recommend doing this one first. And then you're going to go around the outside of the pad and you're going to sew this part. And then when you're done, if you have excess like this, you can go ahead and trim that off. The pad itself, the holder, is a little bit more difficult. So the way you're going to do this is, because you're going to sew layers, is you're going to go ahead and you're going to put the layers in a certain order. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put this piece of fabric, either one of the big holder sides, and you're going to want to put it facing towards you. Okay. And then after you have it facing towards you, you're going to want to put one of the pad sides. I chose the flatter side. And you're going to want to also put that facing towards you as well, so the pattern is up. Same thing with this one. The other pad side, you're going to put the pattern up. And then you're going to take this last part and you're going to put it facing down, because you do have to turn the pad inside out. And then when you do, the pattern will all be inside, or it will be right side out. So you're going to sew it. Yep. This is something that I double check, and then I like to pin just the ends where there's the 3 layers of fabric, just to help hold it together and in place, to try and make all the sides line up. There we go, perfect. And now you are ready for sewing. So if you guys could only help us with cutting out the fabric and getting the fabric, that's perfectly fine. Thank you so much. You're more than welcome to click off this video for sewing. I will go ahead and show you guys what we are going to do. All right, so I have my pad trimmed. It's all ready to go. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to sew the holder part. What I like to do is I like to sew the side first that has the straight edge. Not only does it get you to hold all the fabrics together, but it is also just a straight line for you to follow. So that is an option. However, you can start wherever you want. I am going to sew this really quickly. All right, so I have the pad almost finished with sewing. I'm gonna go ahead and snip all these off. But now comes the most important part. So, what you're gonna wanna do is when you sew this, you're actually gonna wanna leave a little spot open here at the end, enough that you can fit your finger or like a pen or something in. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're actually gonna wanna push the fabric out, because what we're doing is we're actually going to flip this around. However, I just opened and flipped it all into a pocket, so be careful for that. But you're gonna wanna flip it inside out, like so. And then you can take a pen, really anything pointy, so you could use scissors as well. And you're gonna wanna go ahead and you're gonna wanna push out the edges here of the pad. One thing I always like to double check is to make sure that I have the pockets to hold the pad sewn on really well, to make sure that it'll stay sewn, because I like to think of it as sometimes this might be the only feminine hygiene kit that they'll be getting, so you want to make it good, and you want to make it durable. So once you have it turned inside out, it should look like this. All right, so it is all sewn, as you can see here, and this is the finished product. You go ahead and you tuck it in. I'll show you what it looks like really quickly. So it looks like this. This is what they put it in their underwear, and then they have a little clip that goes around like this and holds it all together. So congrats, you guys have finished your pad and holder. Thank you guys so much for helping us again with this. If you have any questions or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Claire or Ileana. But again, we thank you guys so much, and we can't wait to see you back soon. And have a good rest of your day. Bye!